And a major streak, a historic streak ended last night, Rob. The San Antonio Spurs, who actually looked pretty good in the bubble. Entering the bubble, I gave them no chance, especially without LaMarcus Aldridge, who was injured. But they played well in the bubble. They got within range, and they fell short. They, along with Phoenix, fell short as Memphis and Portland will battle in the play-in games this weekend, games this weekend. But what this does is it ends the San Antonio Spurs' 22-year playoff run. That's an NBA record. The most years consecutively making the playoffs. And Rob, in that 22 years, they had 20 seasons of 50 straight wins. Now, I got to qualify that. There's one season in there where they didn't win 50 because it was, remember, the 50-game season.
Right, that was the year they won a championship.
Right, they won a championship.
They beat the Knicks.
And they went 37-13. So, that's a 50, well beyond a 50-win pace.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I threw that in there. And of course, they won 5 championships. But Rob, you said something, and I'm going to give you, you chance to flesh it out. You said something in our pre-show meeting that I'm astounded at. I knew you didn't consider them a dynasty, and we can get into that. But you said something else that just floored me, and I couldn't disagree more. But go ahead, make your statement, and back it up.
Yeah, before we get there, because I don't want people to think that I think that he's a bum and he can't coach or anything like that.
Okay.
But sometimes I think in coaching, you got to take a look at where you are, the circumstance and situation you're in, the players you have, and is it you or is it them, or how much of it is you? And for me, Pop and them never being able, Chris, to win back-to-back or string together a couple of championships or 3 in a row or something to put them there, that always bothered me considering the talent and like all the success that they've had. But when I always look at two coaches, and this is just me, Pat Riley earned my respect not for what he did with the Lakers, but when he took over the Knicks, and they didn't win a championship, Chris, in New York. But he transformed.
Gloss over that. You can't gloss over that.
No, they didn't win a championship, but I remember what he did, how he altered his style of coaching from what he was used to, rolling the balls out with the Lakers, to all of a sudden changing into a gritty, like Detroit Pistons kind of physical, Oakley, Anthony Mason kind of guy. This is all just, it's not based on just winning championships. Anybody, I'm not going to sit here and say he's not going to make the Hall of Fame or I don't think he's a good coach. I'm just talking about the way I view it.
Are you saying you don't consider him an all-time great, Gregg Popovich?
No, I don't. And not because I think he can't coach.
Right.
I think I just think he was in a great situation and circumstance. And I think that had a lot to do with it when you have an anchor like Tim Duncan for that many years and, and the perfect situation. And he had, obviously, David Robinson before that. But anyway, the other guy is Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants. But Bill Parcells then went on. He coached at Dallas. But I thought his best coaching job was with the New York Jets. Again, they got to the AFC Championship game. If I remember correctly, the Jets were 1-15 or 2-14 when Bill Parcells took over from Rich Kotite, turned the team around somehow, Chris, and 2 years later, they were in the AFC Championship game at Denver, leading at the half. They wind up losing. Vinny Testaverde got hurt the next year, and everything fell apart. But they were on their way. And I don't know. When it comes to Pop, I think he's mostly a victim of circumstance and benefactor.
Right.
Exactly right, and that's worked for him. I don't want people to sit here and say I think he can't coach or he's bad or he's not a Hall of Famer. When you win 5 out of 6 championships and all the other stuff you talk about, but for me there's something missing, and I'm just saying Maybe it's because it's only been at one place, Chris, and other great coaches have gone elsewhere. You know what I mean? And proven that it's not. It wasn't just in that circumstance. And then you could see people. You know what I mean? Like Bill Parcells took the Patriots, Chris, to the Super Bowl. They lost. Bill Parcells turned the Cowboys around. They didn't win anything. Bill Parcells turned the Jets around. They didn't win anything. You know what I mean? But I could look at him and say everywhere he went. I always look at Larry Brown that way. Larry Brown won the championship with the Pistons. I think he's the best basketball coach I've ever seen. And the only place he really failed at was the Knicks. That thing just didn't work out. But, Chris, if you look at what he was able to do everywhere he went, I would take Larry Brown over Pop any day. I just would.
Yeah, I completely disagree. I think Gregg Popovich is not only an all-time great coach, but he's arguably the greatest basketball coach in NBA history. I think it's clearly between him and Phil Jackson. And here's why I say, and I don't know how deep your all-time great list goes, but my thing is, I don't think there's any way possible you can leave Pop off the all-time great list. Because in basketball, who would that leave you? If the criteria is Tim Duncan.
Yeah, let me just say this.
Okay, go ahead.
So that you understand what I'm saying. I get all that. I know
you're saying he's a good coach. I know you're not saying he's not a good coach.
I don't want people to say that he's not right.
You're saying he's a good coach, or probably a really good coach, but you are saying he's not an all-time great in your book.
I'm telling you, if I had a choice of Larry Brown and Gregg Popovich, I would take Larry Brown. Give Larry Brown the talent that he had. They win multiple championships. They probably would have won more than 5 in 25 years. I really believe that. And I know he was an assistant under Larry Brown, Chris, in San Antonio, right? Wasn't he?
Well,
wasn't he there?
Larry, and Larry couldn't have stayed anywhere that long.
No, I get it.
As soon as
I've
Larry
seen
signed the contract, he's looking
for the next job. No, he's a drama queen, but that's the one guy I think.
Look, Larry's a good coach. There's no way I put him ahead of Pop because Larry, I mean, what he did with the Sixers was great. You know, with Allen Iverson as far as getting them to the finals. Obviously, they didn't win it. And what he did with Detroit was great. When he won it, he's the only coach to have won it in college and the NBA. I believe that's the fact, right?
Yeah, no, that is true.
Yeah.
The only one, which is mind-boggling.
Which is big, but he's one of the, I mean, Popovich never coached in Division I.
No.
I'm
just saying, but
Pat Riley,
I'm talking about
Phil
guys
Jackson,
who have. It's just weird that nobody else was able to do it.
Has done it, but Larry had some massive failures. I mean, like you said, New York. It looked like he didn't know how to coach in New York. I mean,
that was just it was dysfunctional. It was terrible.
He was starting dudes based on they were from the town they were playing in. You know, if they played the Pistons, so and so's from Michigan, we'll start him. I mean, it was a mess. And then what he did with the Olympic team in 2004 when he wouldn't play LeBron and Carmelo Anthony and they had Duncan and all the. I mean, and they're losing to Puerto Rico. It was terrible. And then he was fired in San Antonio. It went south in Indiana. They bring in Larry Bird, and they get to the finals right away. So Larry had, as great as he was, and he's a legit Hall of Famer, but he had some serious missteps. And then if you want to say, well, Pop had Duncan, and Duncan was the hub. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But I would say, okay, well, Phil Jackson always had Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen or Shaq and Kobe or Kobe.
Some people dismiss Phil. Them. Some people dismiss Phil.
It's impossible to dismiss him. No, he's got 11 championships.
No, I'm just talking about the idea that
those guys. And the thing is, Rob, those guys never won it without Phil. That's maybe what's it. I don't think it saves Phil because I think he's legitimately great in his own right. But for those that would want to, belittle what his success, I think they'd have to answer, okay, well, then why didn't Michael Jordan ever win a championship with anybody else? Or Shaq, who he won it with Riley and Dwayne Wade, but Shaq and Kobe together never won it without anybody. And Kobe never won it without Phil. So that's Phil's thing. But Rob, there's not been a coach. If the criteria is you had to win it without these superstars or, a guy that was an all-time great, then who would be an all-time great coach? Larry Brown, okay, you want to say he took a Detroit team?
No,
like,
that's...
I just, you know what I'm saying? Like, Pat Riley
just
never won it without Magic and Kareem. And when you're right, he went to New York, made him a good team. He did have Patrick Ewing to build around, and they never won it.
But he also changed his coaching style, which is what I was impressed by.
But Pop does that every year.
No.
That's the great thing about Pop is he would adjust to his talent. So when they had Robinson and Duncan, it was Twin Towers, play inside out. Then when Robinson goes, we're built around Duncan. Then Duncan gets older. Okay, Tony Parker's the focal point, and we're actually going to be more offensive-minded than defensive-minded. Then he's never been a big three-point coach, but you know what? 2014, that's the game. That's what our team is built around. We're going to shoot the three, and they run Miami off the floor. He also,
when they lost the championship
now they go mid-range with LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan. So Pop can coach many different brands of basketball.
And the other one that I think always bothered me was when they lost to LeBron in Miami and he had Tim Duncan out of the game and they couldn't get the rebound on the missed free throw by Kawhi. I couldn't believe that Tim Duncan wasn't in the game.
That's fine, but that was a mistake.
Saying,
but I can't say that disqualifies him.
No, I didn't say
that. Let John Starks.
Chris,
I'm just saying.
I didn't say it disqualified him. I'm just saying that was one of those. That was a first guess. I looked and was like, "Where's Tim Duncan?" Like before the play.
That's fair. I mean, but obviously we don't know if they would have got the rebound anyway. But I mean, this dude, to me, his record is virtually impeccable. Like, he's a legit all-time great coach. And, he had to remember, when you say he never won 2 in a row, he had to keep going against Shaq and Kobe, too. They had to beat them almost every time they went to the finals. And so it was tough out there in the West. Pat Riley, when he went to Miami, they got beat, I believe, 3 times in the playoffs. In the first round, well, I don't know if all 3 were in the first round. At least 2 were in the first round, I believe.
Well, the one to the Knicks, that was the first
seeds.
round.
Yeah, lower seeds.
That was the 8 versus 1, right?
Charlotte beat him with Paul Silas as the coach as a lower seed. And then Van Gundy did it again, I believe, with the Knicks as a lower seed.
He?
So, New York, we know they beat Miami a lot in the playoffs, but most of those years they were lower seeds than Miami, or several of them. So, Pat, I could argue that about Pat Riley. He never won it without, Magic and Kareem or Shaq and Wade. And, of course, he came in at the end of the season with Shaq and Wade. So he didn't have to coach him for 82 games.
And I think when you look at Larry Brown's championship with the Pistons, with no stars, and not only that, Chris, they went back the next year. So it wasn't just a fluke year and they got lucky and they went to the finals once and you never heard from them again. They went back and they lost in 7 games to San Antonio, in San Antonio in Game 7. I give Larry Brown a lot of credit, and that's when I realized what a great coach and what he was able to turn around. So that's just my take. If it was up to me, I'd take Larry Brown over Gregg Popovich.